Howdy ho folks, it's been way too long since I last uploaded. The last time I uploaded, the Oscars had one less slapping incident, the Amber Heard memes were nowhere in sight, Morbius had yet to be released onto this innocent world, the Musk Man himself had yet to acquire the Bird app, Netflix had yet to run its own name through the dirt. Okay, yeah, they've been doing that one for a while now, actually. Jesus. Okay, quick editor's note. It's taken me so long to edit this at this point that most of these stories aren't even relevant anymore. Not because the video is complex or anything, I really be losing track of time that much, wow. Alright, anyway, back to the video. All of this to say, the world has changed a lot and very fast since I last uploaded. Oh yeah, and I had about 100 less subscribers. So first of all, I gotta say thank you to everyone who subscribed recently. Not only did we hit 100 subscribers, but we've almost hit 200 at this point, which genuinely blows my mind. I'll talk a little bit more about that at the end, but as a celebration for this milestone, I wanted to go back and make a follow-up to a little video I made around 10 months ago entitled Undeniable Proof We Are Living in a Simulation. Oddly enough, this ended up being my most successful video thus far, and I mean, can you be surprised? I provided such a dang proof for the simulation theory as a suspicious group of kids coming out of an elevator, and Arby's being a successful food brand, which seemed to ruffle a few feathers, but that was pretty much the nail in the coffin, right? Well, there's more than one nail in the coffin in this case, as there's always more points to be made. So today, I figured I'd share one more situation I've experienced that contains undeniable proof that we are in fact living in a simulation. Let's dive in. So you know how in video games, specifically open world games, the world is divided up into sections that kind of vary on difficulty. You know, the world around you might not change much, but all of a sudden the enemies are playing whack-a-mole with your corpse, and you can't do anything about it. Well, I've noticed a phenomenon in real life that seems very similar to this. However, instead of fighting enemies, you're fighting drivers. Now, I know I'm not the only one that's experienced this. Let me explain. So, picture this. You're in your car on a nice drive. Perhaps you make this drive a lot. The road around you is peaceful, traffic is relatively light, and you can just relax and drive at your own pace. And then suddenly, bam, you cross into a more difficult section, I guess is how I'll put it. You know, cars appear out of nowhere, going all over the place, driving like maniacs, dashing in and out of lanes, nearly rear-ending you instead of just passing, and in general, it just feels like absolute chaos. And this always seems to happen on the same exact drive you make, typically when you pass a certain marking, like a street sign or a billboard or other sort of landmark. Now, if you're driving somewhere such as a busy downtown area and it's for work, then yeah, obviously this makes a bit of sense, you know, everyone rushing in and out of the same area at the same exact time, but this happens on so many other occasions in specific areas that, again, it feels like you cross into a more difficult driving zone or something. Does that make any sense? Let me give an actual example. So I currently reside in a great Midwestern state known as Ohio. You may have heard of it. I often make a drive from my residency in the Buckeye State up north to our neighbors known as Michigan. The lower peninsula, not the upper. I don't know exactly what goes on up there. Now, Ohio isn't the greatest example when it comes to exemplary driving, but in comparison to Michigan, it makes Ohio look like Weenie Hut Jr. I don't know what the driving education system is in Michigan, but it seems like they kind of just hand licenses out to anyone that wants one. For instance, I know a woman in her 90s that lives in Michigan, and she just renewed her license until she's 100 without taking any sort of exam. So I mean, I think that's proof enough that it's not exactly hard to get licensed up there. Anyway, I've known for a while people in different states generally drive different. It's just kind of a flow that everyone develops. But what I hadn't known was just how sensitive this rule seems to be. You know how I said this zone change usually happens around a landmark of some sort? Well, in this case, that landmark just so happens to be the little line on the map called, the border between Michigan and Ohio. Does it have a name? But yeah, the border between the two states not only changes the legality of the marijuanos, but it also apparently changes the difficulty for driving. It goes from Mario Kart to F-Zero mixed with ATV off-road fury. And I wish I was exaggerating, but I've seen on multiple occasions ATVs and dirt bikes just doing whatever they want in Detroit and creating absolute madness. And I'm not kidding when I say the very second I cross that little welcome to Michigan sign, these drivers basically spawn in out of thin air. Just the last time I made this drive a few weeks ago, I was coming up on the sign, a couple cars were around me, everyone was kind of just going with the flow. We weren't going slow by any means, but also not speeding like crazy. And then the very moment that sign gets in the rear view mirror, the road just fills up with a shit ton of cars, all going like 90 plus miles an hour. And the next thing you know, we're just the NPCs in their Need for Speed race, and they start darting around us like chickens with their heads cut off. You might think to yourself, well, Joseph, perhaps it was the conditions you made the drive in, like the time of day or the weather. And to that I say, nah. You think I would make this video without being at least a little thorough? Psh, I am a man of science after all. And as a man of science, I went full Bill Nye on this situation and ran some tests. I've made this drive in just about any condition you can over the last several years. I've made the drive at 9 a.m., 9 p.m., the middle of the day, midnight, rush hour, whatever pairs with rush hour, I guess, let's say 3 a.m., I've done it. I've made this drive in just about every weather condition there is, in the scorching heat, light rain, heavy rain, thunderstorms, windstorms, hail, sleet, light snow, heavy snow, and of course the raging blizzards that for whatever reason happen in the middle of March and April in the Midwest. And of course, I have no control over the weather settings in real life, but I've done this drive in just about every combination of time and weather conditions I've been able to over time. And no matter what those conditions are, it's always the same. You cross into Michigan and the next thing you know, the road you're on resembles more of a bumper car attraction than a highway. Well, Joseph, maybe it's the route you're taking, you dipshit. Maybe try taking a different route. And that's rude. But would you heckin' believe that I've tried that too? Now I'll admit, on this one, my options are pretty limited. You see, I'm very directionally challenged. Basically, I need to use maps to get just about anywhere, and unless that place is within maybe like a 15-minute drive of where I live, I'll just completely forgot how I got there and how to get home. This is even backed by science as well, as I got a DNA test, binary code test that showed I got a trait in my genes that shows I have poor directional awareness, along with a good amount of Neanderthal DNA, which explains a lot else. Point is, my options were very limited in this aspect because I was basically only able to go the several routes that Apple and Google Maps suggested for me. Regardless though, I have gone several routes both ways and it's all the same. Drive into Michigan and everyone is suddenly like 6 shots in and has no concept of what a lane is, or drive out of Michigan and all of a sudden everyone is giving you a reasonable amount of space. Sure, there's the occasional jackass in Ohio too, but it's nowhere near as bad as Michigan, and this rule just seems to hold true. Perhaps this really does have something to do with the marijuanos being legal in Michigan, which if that's the case, it's a necessary evil. But maybe it's also the driving education system up there, which I'm not fully convinced is real, honestly. And now that I think about it, I've never even seen cops pulling someone over in Michigan for speeding or anything like that. It's always just been attending to car accidents, which is just strange. I'm sure it exists, but I just have not seen it ever. But let's just be honest, folks. There's only one explanation. And by God, would you have guessed it? We're living in a simulation. There you have it, even more undeniable proof that we are in fact living in a simulation. Last time I proved it with 110% certainty, and this time I upped it to 120. So, haha, take that person that said it wasn't possible to go above 100. What a silly comment. I mean, not possible to go above 100%? How do you explain the 101s and 102% I'd get on all my math quizzes in middle school from bonus points? Rookie. Have you noticed the simulation? Thank you for watching, if you managed to, and seriously, thank you to all who have subscribed recently. I really have been wanting to make this video, or just some video, to celebrate hitting 100 subs these last couple months. Unfortunately, life has just been a wee bit hectic recently, but ideally I will get back into a groove of making videos at least somewhat regularly. And the fact that we're already closing in on 200 subscribers kind of blows my mind out of the water, and I know I'm going to want to make something to celebrate that, so probably not even more proof of a simulation, but I guess we'll see. But yeah, I've tried making several channels over the years, and usually I try to stick to a niche and get bored of it really quick and kind of just forget about the channel. So with this one, I wanted to just kind of create whatever I'm interested in and making at any given point and see what kind of sticks. So the fact that this was the first channel I was able to stick with and grow to 100 subs is why it's so wild to me. And I know 100 probably seems so microscopic nowadays relative to most channels, but considering it's the first time I've done it, it's really awesome to me still, and I hope I can just make some more stuff to entertain you all. But yeah, enough with the mopey dopey sappy stuff. I hope you enjoyed, and feel free to subscribe to join Frog Gang if you haven't already. And yeah, that's about it. Bye.